All right, guys, we are on our last chapter for the year. Here's Lily. She's gonna help me today. No, I'm just teasing. She's gonna go. Although, yeah, you'd probably rather hear her talk than me. All right, we're getting fussy. Bye, Lily. All right, guys. So like I said, this is our last chapter for the year. It is chapter 16. Um, it's gonna be kind of a continuation of natural selection and evolution, all that good stuff. So we're going to talk about throughout the chapter the cheetahs, which I don't have them pictured here. I got different cats. Um, those are my cats down there. But anyway, we're going to talk about the cheetahs, why they're going extinct, some other different things. Also, there is 3 different math things to do throughout this chapter. 2 are really easy. 2 are like the 4th grade level, and then the last one is very difficult to do online. And I think it's just without having you guys in the classroom and showing you step by step, I think it's just too difficult. So I got rid of that altogether. So we're going to do the 4th grade stuff, but the stuff that's kind of to the level of you guys with math, we're not going to do that. So anyway, to start off, we're going to talk about a population. So a population is a group of organisms that live in a particular area, so they got to be able to contact one another, but they're capable of interbreeding. What that means is it's not inbreeding, guys, okay? They're capable of producing fertile offspring through reproduction. All these different dogs here, they're all different species of dogs. They're all dogs, but they're all they have all different characteristics, but they're all capable of interbreeding together and making offspring. So biologists, they study a lot of different traits in populations. That way they can see, okay, which ones are still around in years to come and which ones went away. And why did those traits go away? Why are they, like, not the organisms extinct, but why are those traits extinct? If you guys look here, we got peacocks. The albino is up top, and then we got our male down here that's very brightly colored. Although both of these are males. The females, they're not as brightly colored. So this is genetic variation just even between sexes. The female is more of a brown color. Why that is because the male is very colorful to try to attract the female. So evolution, sometimes it occurs on very small scales, but sometimes, especially when there's a lot of reproducing, it can occur very, very quickly from one generation to the next. Good example of this is mosquitoes. If there's a mutation in one mosquito that causes it to have, I guess you could say, an immunity to insect repellent, well, it's not going to die from the insect repellent. So that mosquito is going to be able to reproduce a whole lot, and it's going to be able to pass on those immunity traits to the next generation. But the other mosquitoes that aren't immune to the insect repellent, well, the insect repellents could kill them or just make them go away, and then they can't get food. So kind of interesting, because if you go to Walmart, I'm sure like some of the things up on the shelves, they're not going to work for mosquitoes because the mosquitoes are already immune to it. We always use one called Picardin, and Picardin seems to work really well, and it still has mosquito immunity for you guys, not for the mosquitoes. So within a population, guys, you're going to see it's going to be a bell curve. There's going to be some average people, there's going to be some really like high performers, and there's going to be some really low performers. And this is within any population. And we actually want this, and I'll show you why later, why we want this. So here's what the bell curve looks like, guys. It looks like a bell, all right? So on one side, we're going to have the low performers. Now, these are the ones that probably through natural selection will, die. Yeah, put it bluntly, right? So these ones over here in the red, they're probably not going to survive, all right? With humans, we don't really have natural selection because we take care of our weak, I guess you could say. But the middle ones, these are the normal people. These are the average performers. And then on the high performers, we're going to get like the Michael Jordans and stuff like that they are better than, most other people at one particular thing. Okay. Now this is like, think of the animal kingdom. Don't think of us with this. This is how it is with most species in the animal kingdom. Take fish, for example. If we talk about length of fish, so here is rainbow trout. Their average weight is 28 pounds. They can be really, really, really small. They can be like 8 pounds, but they can also be really, really big. Now, what do you guys think the best weight to be is? Is it, do you want to be really, really big? Do you want to be really, really small? Or do you want to be in the middle? Actually, you want to be in the middle because the big ones, they probably can't swim as fast because they're so big, and they're probably going to get caught fairly easily. The small ones, okay, yeah, that's cool. They could swim really fast, but at the same time, they're not going to be very big and they could be pushed away by the 28 pounders. So the 28 pounds is like the perfect size for the rainbow trout, right? It's not like the previous example with humans where Michael Jordan's better than 99%, you know. So this one, the actual average is the best place to be. All right, so there's different causes of variation, guys. We want variation. We want those rainbow trout to be some bigger, some smaller, most right in the middle. All right, but variations are going to arise in any population. And like I said, we want those variations to continue. So here's different ways that variation can occur. We can get mutations. We can get recombination. We'll go over that in a few minutes. But the mutations is the main one we're going to kind of discuss a little bit. So before we get there, England in the 1800s. So we're in the early 1800s, around 1811. There was birch trees all throughout the whole, country, and birch trees are naturally white. They have a white bark to them. Okay, you guys can see it there. And there was moths, and there were different variations of moths. They're called peppered moths. We had the black moths up top and the whiter grayish color moths down below. Now, if we're talking about the birch trees, if I go back here, well, which moths are going to survive better on the birch trees? Well, obviously that's going to be the white ones because they're able to camouflage. So the black ones are able to be eaten by the birds or whatever. Okay, so that was in 1811. Everything was pretty, the variation between the white and the black. The white were in much, much, much bigger quantity. So 1811, a lot of white moths, very little black moths, okay? But then, just like in America, the Industrial Revolution came along in England. And that Industrial Revolution put a lot of smoke in the air and a lot of debris and a lot of coal. What happened was the trees went from being this white color to a much darker color, okay? And that actually shifted everything where whenever the trees turned this darker color, well, now the white moths were not as camouflaged as the black ones, and the black ones were able to blend in. So again, guys, this started in 1811. They saw a lot of white ones, very few black ones. In the 1840s, they saw the black population start to increase. And then by the 1890s, they found that most of the population was black. So we went from a whole lot of white ones to very little white ones, to very little, from little black ones to very big quantity of black peppered moths. Okay, so that's a good example of how things change over time. So recombination, we are going to shuffle the genes. If you guys remember crossing over from meiosis during prophase 1, that's recombination. We reshuffle the genes from your parents in order to make you have different characteristics than your parents. That's variation. That's all recombination is, guys. It's recombining your genes so you don't look like your parents or look like exact copies of them. Okay. Another thing is random pairing of gametes. If you guys, if you know who these people are, they're the Jackson 5. That's probably before your time. You probably know the song though. Michael Jackson, he's in the middle there. But if you know yeah. Okay, so that's the Jackson 5 from back in the day. They sang the ABC song. But anyway, they were all brothers, but they all looked, I know the hair kind of looks the same, but that was the time. But if you look at their faces all look different. So the gametes are not going to be the same for the same parents, okay? Gene flow. So as time goes on, if you look here, I have the whole world just kind of mapped out for you. We are going to have genes flowing in and out of different populations because people move, right? So with that, we're going to talk about different alleles coming into and out of the population. Go back to chapter 10, I believe. When we talk about alleles, if you remember, for every single trait in your body, you have two alleles. They're either going to be dominant or recessive, and we can be dominant-dominant, dominant-recessive, which we called heterozygous, or we could be recessive-recessive. Now, as gene flow happens, the gene pool in any population actually changes a little bit. But the gene pool is if we take all of the genetic information, all these alleles, and just pretty much literally as it sounds, put them into a pool. So what that means is those alleles are all kind of just there for a particular population. All right, that's the gene pool. Yeah, that's funny, right? But there's all your chromosomes. That'd be one population, you know, all their chromosomes grouped in. So what that means, guys, is that for the next generation, we can pick in that gene pool what characteristics or what genes are going to be passed on. Let's say, for instance, I don't know, in Ireland, okay? Ireland, there are a lot of red-haired people, okay? Their gene pool is going to have a lot of these alleles for red hair, but black hair or even blonde hair are going to be very little. So we would see their gene pool having a whole lot of red alleles, but not a whole lot of black or blonde alleles. There's another example of a gene pool, guys. We have brown butterflies, white butterflies, and orange butterflies. So it looks like this would be incomplete dominance because big A is brown, little a is white. If you put them together, it blends, I guess, kind of like an orange color. But there's all your gene pool of the butterflies. Okay, here's the math part, guys. We got to do a little bit of math. Not much, just a little, just enough to make you say, oh boy. So we're going to do allele frequencies first, and then we're going to do phenotype frequencies second. This is not hard, I promise. Okay. Oh my, this animation is just too much. Okay. There we go. So allele frequencies is how often the dominant or recessive allele, this is not genotype, this is just the allele, appear in a population. What we're going to do is count our total number of alleles. Then, depending on what the question's asking, we're either going to count the dominant or recessive alleles. We're going to divide those two, okay? Divide the dominant or recessive, whatever it's asking, by your total number of alleles, times it by 100. That's going to get your allele frequency or your percentage at the end. Okay, so we have different flowers here. We either have purple or we have white. Obviously, this is regular complete dominance. The heterozygous one is not different, okay? So we have 9 flowers, each of them with 2 different alleles. So we're going to find the allele frequency for dominant alleles in the first generation of flowers. Okay, so we're looking for the dominant alleles. So what we're going to do first is we're going to count our total number of alleles. So let's count our total number. So first flower, 1, 2, 3, 4. Second flower, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so I did that the long way. You guys can see each flower has 2 alleles. You could just say, okay, I got 9 flowers. 9 flowers times 2, that equals 18. So your total number of alleles is 18. Now it's asking for how many are dominant. So let's go back again. Let's see how many dominant ones we have here. Flower number 1, I got 1 capital letter, 2 capital letters. So there's 2 dominant. Flower 2, I got 1 there, so that makes 3. Okay, recessive. So 4, 5, 6, 7, nothing there. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have 13 dominant alleles, okay? So I got 18 total, 13 dominant. We're going to divide them. So 13 divided by 11, it's like 0.72. Multiply it by 100, and you get 72.2%. That's it. That's all the allele frequency is, guys. All right, fairly easy. Phenotypic frequencies. A little more difficult, but not really. It's how often a particular phenotype appears in a population. So we're going to count our total numbers of individuals we have. Then we're going to count how many individuals, whatever the question's asking for. Okay, if it's talking about a population of people and it's saying how many people have red hair, you'd be counting the red-haired people. All right, and then same thing, divide the numbers, times it by 100. So we got a first generation, we got a second generation. It says, what is the phenotypic frequency of the white phenotype in the second generation? Okay, so we're only worried about the second generation. That's the bottom ones here, guys. And we're only worried about the white ones. So let's count our total first, total number of individuals. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we have 8. So we have 8 flowers there, right? Total number with white, 1 right there, and that's it. We only have 1 white one, okay? We're going to divide it. 1 divided by 8, which is 0.125. To get your percent, multiply it by 100. Boom. All right. So that is it for this one, guys. Have a good rest of your day.